karaoke night in the living room and just have a good time. So
that's great. Oh, that's awesome. So definitely no Capulets and Montagues going on over there then. Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on down. Regal, I would love to ask you that your real name's Justin. How did Regal come about?
Well, I'm a musician, and I was about a decade ago is when I was pursuing that career, and still am in that field. But there was a lot of, I don't know if you guys know the music industry, but there's a lot of Justins, Bieber, Timberlake, and I was just like, I don't want to compete with that or just be like, all right, you're another Justin or whatever. So I just really felt to like separate myself. I wanted to have something that had meaning. And so I thought and prayed about it and whatever. And I ended up on the word, regal, because it means, like royalty. Just wanted to, have not kind of like a super like spiritual name that like, but it did have meaning, so I chose that. And then it's actually Regal Noise. I just chose Noise because music was taken. I just want to be like Regal, like Drake or something, whatever. And then my buddy was like, oh, music's taken. Well, try Regal Noise. So I like saved everything as Regal Noise for like Gmail and all my socials. And then that's how you can. And then when you search that, like you can search like Regal and you'll find like toilets or like alcohol or whatever. But if you search Regal Noise, it's actually just me. So it actually kind of worked out. So that's how I got it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Now, Hannah, I would love to hear, you knew him while he was trying to do his music stuff. And then the transition happened mostly because of you into social media. I'd love to hear how that happened.
Yeah. So it's working. So when I met him, well, before I knew him, we had been friends on Facebook, and I had saw that he had done music. And when I met him, he was telling me that he was wanting to release some music. And I didn't know we were going to get married, and I'm like, I want to help make this dream possible for him, because I knew it had been a passion for him, for a very, very long time. And so it was during COVID, and my brother had been on TikTok, and I didn't know what TikTok was, and he was sending me videos. I'm like, oh, these are really funny. So I got on TikTok, and then people were telling him that he should get on TikTok to like promote his music, because a lot of artists were seeing success for their songs and stuff. So I asked him, if I can help like build us an account to promote your music, would you be willing to let me do that? And he was like, yeah, sure. So we tried.
Not knowing what that entailed.
Yes. Yeah. So then we started posting some things. So I didn't really know like what to post, and so we just did a few things, and nothing really happened. But when we got married and we were on our honeymoon, he was in the bathtub making this bubble bath, and it was ginormous. If you go back like on our pages, it's one of the first videos, and the bubbles were like almost to the ceiling. It was crazy, and he's like. And so I recorded him as I was going in there. I'm like, what are you doing? And I posted it, and nothing happened right away. But then a few days later, it went viral. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe couple content is how we can do this. So then just kind of it took a little while for us to kind of figure it out and get more success in it. But that's kind of what got us to have a couples page. And hopefully we can use that. He's going to be releasing music soon. So we're hoping to be able to promote it through our channels.
So, that's beautiful. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back down to the end again, and I'm going to go ahead and warn you. This is a pretty good one, actually. So, for Hunter and Devin, what are the differences between social media and in person in terms of discipleship and life change for those who might receive the gospel?
Okay, repeat the last part. I couldn't really hear it.
I'll read it again. So, what are the differences between social media and in person in terms of discipleship and life change for those who would receive the gospel?
Yeah, that's good. I would say, in person, we've always believed in having like community, and fellowship is so important. If it weren't here, so like that's how important community I understand it is. And so on social media, because in our videos, all you're seeing is us. It's not like we're going around preaching on a stage and just trying to make disciples or bring people to know Jesus through that. It's just by our actions. And so little flashback or throwback, I'll say, whenever we first started TikTok, I started doing these Bible TikToks, because I was like, okay, well, God gave us this platform. If we have this platform, we need to be lifting up Jesus's name, making him known. And I started getting in habit of using my personal Jesus time. I was just thinking for the next story to tell, the next, what will people relate to the most? And it was like cutting into my personal, all this. And a lot of prayer, I was praying and God just revealed it to me. He was like, it's okay. They'll see you by my fruits. And from that moment, like, I believe like in our videos, our hope is just that, you know, you can see the fruits of the Spirit, love, compassion, joy, gentleness, self-control, and all those things. And honestly, like that is how that we just want to be a good representation of Christ. And so in person or online, you know, we just hope that people see us and they can see the fruits of the Spirit in us and be like, oh man, what do they have? Like, I need some of that. You know what I mean? And that I feel like is kind of how we do it in both, you know, just by how we act and stuff. But it's easier to have conversations in person, one-on-one about who in a mass audience. So it's like, you know, it's different in that way.
Can I add to that for just a second?
Yeah.
I will say this about social media that's different than being in person is I get a lot of messages, especially from guys, like one guy to another. Guys will message me and like I don't want to say emotional, but they'll really like tell me their story or tell me, you know, just whatever it may be. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes on social media, people can get more vulnerable, like in a good way, and tell us like what they've been walking through and how, you know, we or any of these other people may have helped them or like guided them or led them back to Christ. So I think that's really a plus when it comes to social media. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of like comments and whatever that we see is like, oh, you made me not, you know, it's Christ working through us, but it's, you know, they'll hear us say something, they'll say, you know, I've decided to go read that for myself and you know, pick this back up kind of thing.
That is so true. I'll say, yeah, I feel like social media does give us more opportunity to be a disciple and talk to people one-on-one through DMs about it versus like in person, you know, you can be like, hey, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm good. Just the cliche thing to say. But versus like on social media, people really might break down. And
God's plan, and we knew like in our hearts and just through counsel and God. So that was more important to me and far more stronger than the intimidation factor. So yeah, even now, like all of our friends are like, y'all are crazy, you know, all this. And in my mind, I don't care what they think, you know, I care what God thinks. And I just know our marriage is glorifying the Lord. So yeah.
Yeah, and we had it pretty good because both of our families were super, super supportive. My whole life, I said I would love to get married young and have kids young. So it was totally normal for me. It was what I wanted, and you know, so it was like my plan all along, or it was God's plan. But my family always encouraged it. They honestly encouraged. They said there's nothing wrong with getting married young. I mean, they got married for them, but I personally did not care. I knew that we wanted to get married. Even if my family wasn't supportive of it, I don't think it would have mattered, or, I mean, it would have been harder because our family's so important to us. But.
And we would have kind of like, if they wouldn't have been supportive, we would have dove deeper into that. Like, are you seeing something in us that we're just not seeing, that we're just completely blind to? So it takes a level of like wise counsel. You should always have counsel and people pouring into your life and talking with your community. And just for like an engaged couple, someone gave me this illustration, so like I'm not stealing it. I'm just, you know, I'm giving them credit. But imagine a triangle. You're at one corner, you know, your spouse, your engaged partner is at the other corner. Marriage is at the top. God is at the top. You have to work your way up as you come closer together. You're working toward that one goal to become one, which a lot of times we can make it all about ourselves. We can make it about our desires and stuff like that. But the whole purpose of marriage is to give this picture of the church in Christ. So if you just remember that, then you're rocking.
That's good.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to Hannah and Regal, and we're gonna dive a little bit biblical with you guys now, but also cultural. And the question is, why do most churches not teach about prophecy and where we are on the prophetic timeline?
Yeah, we're getting deep. Love it. Let's go. So I guess I would say, I think because some people, as far as like the gifts of the Spirit and stuff, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, there can be like weird things, you know, and some people can abuse that. And so I think there is, you know, a place by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so I think, you know, even what we're doing here right now, just telling our testimonies, it's prophecy to you guys. You know, it doesn't have to be weird. God can use that to declare over your life, hey, I can take that and God can, you know, do something in people's lives through that. So I think there is a natural, supernatural way to go about prophecy. And there can be just powerful moments as well. But as far as like the timeline and stuff like that, I would also say the Bible talks about, you know, we can be, you know, just like the weather. You can see a cloud coming and all this stuff, but the, you know, Bible says that Jesus said himself that the Father only knows that time. And if anybody tells you, hey, this is it, this is going to happen, this is where it is, and this is the place it's going to be, it says don't listen to them. So I just kind of trust in our Father, and, you know, I think everything else is going to, because when things, you have to take things as they come. Sometimes, you know, we can get notifications about something that we need to address and it's late at night. As far as the business side of things, as far as the content creation of it, some of it is spontaneous too. And so it's like, oh, like this would be funny right now. And so you have to take it. And then some of it is like a trend that you have to do. And so we calculate more of those things. And that's more of like a couple times a week type thing, but some of it is also like a spontaneity thing. And so when you're in this, you have to be willing to open up your entire life to be able to, you know, we're all trying to make a living for ourselves as well too. So it has to be, you know, some
kind of pretty similar is like, it was so different. Like I walked into social media unexpectedly. Soph literally has always wanted to do social media. Another thing she was right about. So she just tends to be right a lot. But anyways, I barely can function Instagram. So walking into social media was like this whole new thing. And I'd say it's like become a part of our like life, but like every day, every hour, just because like, even if we're on vacation, we're still posting content, we're still thinking of content, kind of like you said, like it can be spontaneous, like can sometimes make it like draining in a sense, because